Welcome to the Vessel Podcast. I'm Devin Lancaster. This is Garrett Morris, and this is episode 2. We're going to be talking about diet, nutrition, kind of what that looks like for athletes, and then just like general population, and how to make the most out of your 24 hours in a day. You usually only spend 1 to 2 hours in the gym, so that leaves you 23, 24 hours left over. And how can you maximize your gains with your nutrition? So, Garrett, let's talk about your nutrition currently and what that looks like, and then maybe you can go into how that differs now than versus when you were an athlete.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm eating probably 3,000 to 3,500 calories a day. Um, Most of that I try to supplement with whole foods as best as possible. So try to get my fruits, veggies, good grains, a good amount of protein in. I think my biggest thing is a gauge is am I getting enough protein in a day? So I'm trying to get 180, 200 grams a day. Is to try and get my base level. If I hit that, then usually most things fall in place.
Do you currently track right now?
Not as well as I should, but I've done it long enough where if I know kind of what's in what, and I can kind of get that in, but I probably should go back to tracking.
What do you use when you track?
Just the free version of MyFitnessPal.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it goes, right? Like once you kind of figure out like what you like to eat,
Yeah,
you just kind of go back to those same meals, and
yeah,
then you pretty much know like the caloric intake or at least the macros of it.
yeah.
Um, so currently, you don't track. When you played sports, did you actively track your calories?
I didn't, and I wish I did. I was kind of one on the malnourished side as an athlete. Then the nourished side, I didn't realize how much I needed to eat. I kind of just ate to stay full. And so, like, versus eating to make sure I had enough fuel. And there's kind of a difference. Like, I would eat something, I was like, okay, I'm not really hungry, I'm good. And then maybe a few hours later, especially in season, going through, you know, lifting weights, practice, um, and then anything in between, by the end of the day or during practice time, I was very low energy. I felt kind of beat up all the time. So I wasn't getting enough nutrients that way.
So, what you just said, eating to fuel
Yeah.
your body. Can you talk about like what that exactly means for people who may not get it? Because I think that can honestly help people from having a bad relationship with food when they see food as fuel.
Yeah. So yeah. Um, so a calorie is energy. So when you burn energy, either it's metabolically or through exercise. So metabolically, your metabolic functions such as sleep, recovery, building and breaking down tissues and those things. And then exercise through actively burning those calories. Usually you do not burn nearly as many calories exercising as you do metabolically. So when you exercise, you will burn, say, 200, 300, 400 calories in a workout. Well, typically, metabolically, you're burning 2,000 plus. And the faster your metabolism is, based off how much muscle mass and how often you get your heart rate up, then that will increase your metabolic rate, and therefore you're going to burn more calories sitting than you would, if you didn't.
Right. So, what you're talking about is RMR,
Yeah,
right? Like your resting metabolic rate.
yeah,
How many calories you burn just to live.
yeah,
And then anything else that would be when you're exercise,
yeah,
active, you have an active lifestyle. Um, so to keep it simple, right? You have to, if you want to lose weight,
hmm
you need to eat less calories than you burn.
yeah. You have to get in a calorie deficit.
Correct. If you want to gain weight, you have to eat more calories than you burn.
A calorie surplus.
So for for basic for beginners or for most people, that's about as far as people will go,
Yeah.
right? Um, do you think for the general population, is it important for them to get into the weeds start looking at micronutrients. Um, how long into somebody's fitness journey do they need to start looking farther than just calories in, calories out, macros, micros, those types of things?
So I mean, there's a pyramid of like what's more important. Are you eating how much you eat versus what you eat, and then obviously timing and those things. And then, you take a step back and you talk about, you know, fueling. If you have an extra goal and you know what you need to hit, and if you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, that can kind of, gauge how much you should eat based off how much you should fuel your body. Obviously, cravings are involved, and those can be, deterred, based off of water intake and how much whole foods you're eating and protein. But if you're looking at, the big picture of do I need to get enough micronutrients, macronutrients, and periodization, right? It's kind of a catch-22 on both. Like if you're eating enough whole foods, you're going to be full longer. Therefore, you probably not going to eat, as much calories. Um, and then, and you can it's very hard to overeat on fruit, veggies, and good meat. It's very hard. Those keep you full very long. They are rich in nutrients and they're low in calories. So, and then if you eat things that are very high in calories and very high in processed foods, they're typically higher in the calories. They're not as very high in the micronutrients. So if you try to stick on either or, it kind of balances itself out. So try to stick on the whole foods, fruit, veggies, meat, and then you're probably not going to overeat on calories.
That's right. And, I agree because I've seen that firsthand. Like, my dad wanted to lose some weight.
Yeah.
And so, first thing we did is cut out soda, try to cut out as much processed food as possible. And so that's what I told him. I said,
Yeah.
okay, for this whole month, let's try to eat nothing but um, meat and fruit. If it's not meat and if it's not fruit, we're not eating it.
Yeah.
And he lost 30 pounds in a month. I think a lot of that was probably cutting out a lot of the processed sugar and soda and the processed meat that he was eating. Um, but really, like you said, like nobody's getting fat off of fruit.
No.
Have you ever seen it?
It's like 90%, 99% water, depending on type of fruit.
Right.
And then those sugars are processed differently. I mean, they're still, you know, it's mostly water, a little fruit, low calories. That fructose, you know, is not going to do anything crazy to your body. It's good, actually, going to be healthy energy. Um, but then, like you talked about the micronutrients, but there's also periodization, and a lot of people will try to stress out about when you eat. And it's like, are you eating before, after you work out? Are you eating a breakfast? Are you not eating breakfast? Are you intermittent fasting? I don't think that is as important as how much you eat and what you eat. Now, you can get in the weeds of like as an athlete or somebody who's really trying to dial in something and go with periodization. But on the grand scheme of things, that's not important. But if you are trying to perform at a very high level, then periodization is one of those last final steps that you can kind of dial in. But yeah,
100%. I think that basically the research that I've seen has showed that if you're going to train more than once a day, then that's when the meal timing
yeah,
is really going to be necessary. So you can be fueled for your next workout or
yeah,
workouts if you train 2 to 3 times a day.
and recover from the past one.
Right. So, yeah, like they say there's that anabolic window of you better have a protein shake within 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Now, is that 100% true? Maybe. Like, I think it depends. Like,
yeah,
if you're going to train 2 to 3 times a day, then yeah, you need to get food in you to recover from the previous workout as fast as possible.
yeah,
Um, but if you're not training until the next day, then you got 24 hours to recover
yeah.
with sleep in between. You're probably going to have 2 to 3 meals in between. So day to day, like as long as you're getting your macros in from day to day, you're going to be recovered.
Well, at that point, it's just hitting your protein goal. It doesn't matter kind of when or how. It's just doing it, and that's going to be the biggest priority. And the reason we stress about protein intake is because, it helps with muscle recovery and all these other things and bodily functions. But also, when you increase protein, you'll also increase muscle mass, which will increase metabolic rate. But then also, most things that are high in protein are lower on calories, especially if it's a lean protein. So, it's if you eat things that are high in protein, you're going to be full longer, therefore you're not going to overeat. And it can kind of curve a lot of the cravings for sugar and those things and carbohydrates. So, those bad carbs that high in sugar processed foods, if you're eating protein, you're probably not going to crave that nearly as much.
So with that, talk about the caloric value of each macro of a protein, a carb, and a fat
Yeah. So protein and carbs, they have 4 calories,
per one
yeah,
gram.
per 1 gram. And then you have 9 calories for 1 gram of fat. So fat obviously has the most, but things that are high in fat are typically very filling. So typically, if you want percentages, it's usually like 40 to 50% is carbs, and then like, 20 to 30% is protein, and the other, 20 to 25, 30% is fat. So carbs typically, especially as an athlete, is where your most calories come from. And then protein's usually the next, and then fat is the last. But you want to make sure you get your fats from like good fats, not from you know, high processed foods, but maybe like an animal fat or, like avocados or, olive oil, those things.
So we've already said like processed foods.
hmm
Can you explain like what processed food means?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything is processed. I mean, if you kill a deer, it has to be processed. But how processed it is generally speaking, is the worse it gets for you. The more ingredients it's going to have, the more chemicals, more preservatives, um, and then if you go into, like instant meals, that gets real bad. The more convenient food is, usually the worse it is for you. Um, so you want things that are whole foods, so things that can be hunted, gathered, caught, in the wild. And the closer to its natural state, the better it is for you. You're not going to denature as much, vitamins, minerals, proteins. You're going to get, the what the raw form of it is. And then the more processed it gets, the more stripped it gets of its nutrients. Um, that's why a lot of foods nowadays are rich because they strip all the nutrients out in the process of making it, or and then they have to try to add the minerals and nutrients back, which is not the best way of doing it.
Yeah, so what are some take me through take me through what is like a processed meal and then maybe the ingredients that you could replace that to make it a healthy meal.
Yeah, I mean, you could have, let's say like a burger and fries. Like it's hard to get everything out of their process. But instead of having like highly processed fries, right, you could cut potatoes, spray a little olive oil on them, and then air fry them. And then boom, you're down to two, three ingredients versus, everything that comes with like the oil that they deep fry them in and all the unnecessary stuff. Um, you can have a beef patty and then your bun. You can have like a sourdough bun that has two or three ingredients, and then your vegetables and stuff on that burger. And you literally have maybe 10 ingredients with that whole meal. Versus if you buy it at a fast food chain, it's going to have 40 to 100,
Yeah.
depending on where you get it from.
So take me through a day of what you eat.
So typically in the morning I have a shake, just because of time. If I am on a normal day, like an off day or a break, I love eggs. I love toast. I love those things like an omelet. But I don't know if I'm normal day to day with work, it's usually like a protein shake, and that's milk, um, BPM protein, and then maybe some oats and creatine. So that's why I drink in the morning.
Any fruit?
Um, Maybe a banana, but nothing crazy. And then usually I snack on my fruit throughout the day. Um, and then that's usually 700 to 1,000 calories, depending on how much oats and things I put in. And then lunch, is typically I eat a lot of rice, So maybe a cup or two of cooked rice, and then some type of meat source, and then a veggie, you know, and then my rice might have like a little bit of butter and salt, and then the meat has a little bit of seasoning and stuff on it, nothing crazy, and then veggies. Um, and then the carb source will rotate, the meat source will rotate, and usually the veggie will rotate. And then for dinner, it might be maybe like spaghetti, pasta with a higher quality noodle, meat, you know, of a similar format of a meat, carb, and a veggie, to try to keep it balanced.
You have a veggie pretty much with every meal.
I try, but I mean, either it's cooked into it, or if it's like onions and peppers and stuff cooked into it, or it might be like broccoli, or you know, I know maybe a sweet potato is not necessarily a veggie, but something along those lines.
I never eat vegetables
Yeah.
ever.
I mean, I don't really necessarily think you have to. I mean, you can get fruit and veg, you can get your minerals and stuff, and from other things. I think if the priority, I would say eat fruit over vegetables.
I
But
get plenty of fruit.
yeah,
Like I might have fruit in my protein shake, and I'll have fruit for with my lunch, and then I'll usually snack on fruit at night.
yeah,
And because I'll crave like candy and stuff. Um, but instead of that, I'll try to eat just a lot of fruit.
yeah.
To avoid the processed sugars.
I do asparagus a lot, but
Yeah, we don't. I don't do much fruit. Pretty much everything in my meals revolves around protein and carbs.
yeah,
Um, and I try to hit my goals that way.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, you have a lot of allergies, so I mean, you have to work around that. You want to talk about that?
yeah, so yeah, I'll go in depth over my allergies. So I have like severe food allergies, right?
Yeah,
And I'm pretty much allergic to all the top nine common allergens. I'm allergic to peanuts. That's my most severe one. That's like anaphylaxis. I
yeah,
keep the EpiPen strapped on me for that. Dairy, soy. I avoid the shellfish and all that.
peas, legumes.
Peas. So all pretty much all the legumes,
Yeah,
right? And so like peanuts are a legume, soy is a legume, peas. So that's chickpeas and green peas. That's a weird one. Like I don't really eat those anyway. Um, but so like no hummus or anything like that. And then so those are all like actual allergies. When I talk about my dairy allergy, I think a lot of people assume that I'm just like lactose intolerant.
yeah,
Um, so an intolerance is like a level lesser than an allergy,
yeah.
right? Like you have some GI distress, you're upset in your belly a little bit,
Got some gas and things like that.
right? Like that's an intolerance.
Yeah,
An allergy is like hives. We got to go to the hospital,
yeah,
like that type of thing. So I have to avoid all that, and then I also have to avoid the cross contamination. So my because of my allergies, my diet has always had to be pretty strict.
very simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's real simple. So my day to day is protein shake in the morning, and so because of my dairy allergy, I can't do whey protein.
yeah.
So I've tried like several different proteins. Right now I'm on beef protein isolate. I know that sounds gross.
Oh, so you did find one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's very expensive. It's $90 for 30 servings.
that's crazy.
It's crazy.
Which usually a typical whey protein is like a little over $1 a serving.
That's right. So this is
So
like $3 a serving.
yeah,
And then I do two servings of that every morning, so I can get enough protein. Um, so I'll do just like in a blender. We'll go two servings of protein. We'll go frozen fruit, and we'll go. Obviously, I can't have cow milk, dairy milk, so I do rice milk, which also
yeah.
probably sounds gross to
I
the.
actually like rice milk.
See,
Yeah,
yeah, you've had it plenty
yeah,
of times.
yeah. It's a
Um,
good carb source if you're
it's
trying to
great
get,
carbs,
better carbs.
low fat, um, really thin.
Yeah.
Probably what kind of milk is it probably equivalent to?
Yeah, it's almost like skim, but it's basically like water.
Right. So like,
Yeah.
so you've had,
I like rice milk more than I like skim milk.
you do.
Yeah.
See, so for the general population, it probably sounds really gross. I've literally never had cow milk,
Yeah.
so so I don't know the difference.
Yeah.
Um, and then sometimes I'll do oats in it. Recently, I haven't been doing oats, so that's my breakfast. And then lunch rolls around, and it's literally always either going to be beef and rice, chicken and rice, beef and pasta, or chicken and pasta. And it's been that for the last 5 years. Because that keeps it pretty simple. I know exactly how much beef I need. I know how much rice or pasta I need,
Yeah.
and then I'll use like barbecue sauce or like pasta sauce, or we'll season it really well um, to keep it kind of mixed up.
Yeah.
And then usually around 3:30 or 4 o'clock, I'll have like another meal ish. It's usually on the smaller side.
Mhm.
That's more to make sure I hit my protein goal. So there'll be another 50 grams of protein of some kind. Um, the easiest thing for me to do is if I make a pound of ground beef, that's 100 grams of protein. I can have 50 for lunch and 50 for that snack, and there's 50 grams. I've had 50 grams in my protein shake in the morning, so now I'm at 150. And then that last meal is going to be at least 50, so it'll be 50 to 75, and then I hit my protein goal.
I mean, it's easier for you to track everything because I mean, you don't eat out.
Right,
And it's hard for you with your allergies. And then that's where most people go wrong because like they could do well Monday through Friday and then they don't lose any weight because Saturday and Sunday it's where they eat out. And it's like you can ruin a whole week of progress from 1 to 2 meals in a week
right.
because like eating out, like a meal is easily 1,000 calories,
Hmm.
sometimes pushing two, depending on where you go. And if your goal is to lose a couple pounds a week, well, you need to be a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So if you're not in a 3,500 calorie deficit by the end of the week, you're not losing anything.
Right.
You're not going to lose that whole pound at least. And then if you starve yourself all week and then you splurge at the end, you could ruin the whole week of progress. Basically, instead of just staying at a 100 to 300 calorie deficit per day and Monday through Monday, you
Hmm.
know, and a lot of people ruin that.
Yeah, they ruin that because honestly, I mean, 3,500 calories. If I'm feeling right,
Yeah,
I mean, I can ruin that in
yeah,
2 meals.
yeah,
So it sounds easy, like we'll just cut back 500 calories a day. But then, like you said, on Saturday night, you throw it all away because you wanted to
Yo,
go
Cheesecake
out,
Factory.
go Cheesecake Factory, and then like we don't drink, but people that drink,
Yeah,
like you can throw it away real fast with
yeah.
alcohol.
And that's what a lot of people do is it's not just alcohol, but like sugary drinks, Cokes, lemonades, tea. We're in the South, sweet tea.
Sweet thing.
Um, those high sugar, it's easy to drink calories. So as athletes, we know because to gain weight, you have to drink your calories. Like it's hard to eat 3, 4,000 calories eating, you know, especially if you're training to stomach that. The easiest thing is to blend it and drink it. So like if you're drinking sugary drinks that are high in calories, you're putting on weight that you didn't even know. So like the fastest way we tell people to lose weight is like cut sodas, cut high sugary drinks, try to drink mostly water, and then that will cut people, 15, 20 pounds in a week. Or not a week, but sorry, a month. And like they can lose it like that. And that's hard for most people to cut is what they drink, not
That's
what they
right.
eat.
That's right. And so I'll never forget this. I tell all of our athletes that we work with that are trying to gain weight.
Yeah,
And for athletes for the most part that we work with, they're going to be on a weight gain plan.
yeah,
They want to build muscle, build mass, and that's how I was in college too.
same.
Like I was always on the mass gainer program, um, and so that's what our team dietitian had said is drink your calories. So literally no water. Like you'll get water at practice.
No,
Like there's no point in with a meal drinking water. He's like you drink juice, you drink milk, um, you drink Gatorade, Powerade, but you're not drinking water.
yeah,
And yeah, we'd put on some
yeah,
weight. And being an athlete, you know, it's not gonna it's really not gonna affect your gains or performance, right? Because when you're talking about fueling to perform, Like if you want to perform at a high level,
Yeah.
you have to eat a lot, and you got to have a lot of carbs to fuel your body.
And all of those carbs are sugar.
Right.
And if you look at Olympic athletes, they're drinking high amounts of sugar, and they're putting like literally just like powdered sugar, you know, in different forms, mixing it, drinking it, and that's how they fuel. When you're burning, you know, 3 to 10,000 calories a day, you have to put it back somehow, and most of those are in sugar for ATP.
Over the past 6 months, I've been training for this marathon, and I haven't tracked my food at all. I'm
Yeah,
trying to make sure that I hit my protein. I get at least 200 grams of protein a day,
yeah,
but I don't care about the how many carbs I eat. And I really never have cared because I've always just been, like a weight gain guy. But going into marathon prep, I weighed right between 205 and 210 pounds, like pretty consistently.
hmm
And then now, and I'm eating as much as I can eat. Don't care about the carbs that I eat. I don't even care what form of carb that they are. And I've still lost 10 pounds.
yeah.
And it's just, it, it raises the question, can you out train a bad diet? And at what extent can you no longer out train a bad diet?
I would say it depends on how high of a level you're going, right? If you're at a lower level, you know, maybe, right? Depends what your goal is. Like if you're just like an average runner, you could probably eat, if you're running a good amount, burning amount of calories, you're probably going to eat a good amount and still be fine. But if you're like at a super high level, I do feel like to a degree you probably need to like hone in like quality of food. Like you can't eat McDonald's every day and expect to perform at a high level. But, but there is a degree where you're going to have more flexibility though in a cheat meal because you are burning so many calories. And you have to just put those calories back in however you see fit.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that. I agree with the quality. Like, and as I've gotten older, sound like an old man,
hmm
but as I've gotten older, like quality is important.
yeah,
Because yeah, I may hit my macros with a meal from McDonald's,
no.
but I promise I'm not going to feel very
Yeah,
good
you're not gonna feel
afterwards.
well. And they actually did a study with that. I thought it was pretty interesting. It's like they had a guy who like ate 2,000 calories, or he was in a calorie deficit, eating nothing but junk food, and he lost weight. And he had a same, another person or the same person, and they ate, a calorie surplus and nothing like chicken, rice, and broccoli, something you would say is a pretty strict healthy diet. And that guy in the surplus gained, and the guy in the deficit lost, even though the quality of food was trash to healthy. So that's what I'm saying. Like calories, how much you eat is probably the first thing, and then because you obviously you want to lose weight, and also the big thing is they check their blood work, and usually you would say the person who ate like junk, their blood work would have been bad, but it was actually good because they still were in a calorie deficit. So like it definitely helped their blood work overall, being at a lighter weight. But then, it's a catch 22 as well. Like you need to do both, right? You need to be in a calorie deficit if you're trying to lose weight, but try to get those, sources from a healthy spot because you can't maintain a healthy calorie deficit eating nothing but Twinkies.
Right.
Like you're eventually gonna get addicted to those foods, and you're gonna get calorie surplus because you're addicted to sugar.
Yeah.
You might be able to do that in short term, but you can't do that long term.
Yeah, and you'll create vitamin
Yeah,
deficiencies and everything else.
yeah.
What do you think about individuals that are younger versus older, and maybe how the quality can be different between an older individual and a younger individual?
Yeah, I mean, there's kids at my school that eat nothing but ramen noodles and Takis, and that's kind of like the younger generation is up. They usually eat snacks all day, and they're not eating any protein. They don't even know what protein is. Like they'll eat noodles and think they hit their protein intake, and it's crazy. It's like so they can get away with it. The younger you are, you can get away with it, and the older you get, you can't really get away from it. Um, and I'm sure there's plenty of reasons behind that. Um, I'm sure it has to do with the cellular level of like degradation and cellular lifespan. But yeah, the older you get, you definitely got to hone in your macros. You got to hone in your macros, all that stuff.
Yeah, when we were in college, Wendy's was the closest place to. the baseball field.
Yeah.
So like Wendy's, I mean, we kept Wendy's in business. I mean, so on days I didn't pitch, pitchers aren't going to do anything else other than warm up and then sit in the dugout for 9 innings.
Yeah.
So if I pitched the game before, whatever, I knew I wasn't going to pitch that day, I'd just do my prehab, rehab, and then, call it a day. We would go to Wendy's and I would get a 50-piece nugget.
Goodness.
And I'd eat that on, during the course of a 9 inning game. And that don't even sound good to me anymore.
No.
Like, I don't even want to do that. No. But I would do that probably weekly. The guys that I would play with would be like, "What are you doing?" And I would just, man, you got to eat.
Yeah.
4 hours for a 9 inning game. That's a long time.
And y'all had meal cards, and your best buddy was eating Chick-fil-A every day.
Yes. Yeah, roommate would eat Chick-fil-A literally every single day.
Yeah. He had so many points.
Yeah, so many points. My dad, so I couldn't eat at the calf because I'm allergic to everything. Yeah. So that made it hard because, some schools have like a dorm that's almost like an apartment.
Yeah.
The dorms that we were in were not like an apartment. They were like just like classic dorm, like a room, 2 beds, and a bath. We did have a bathroom, so we didn't have to use like community bathrooms.
Yeah.
But that means that we only had in there like not a kitchen or a kitchenette or anything like that. It was like microwave and mini fridge. And so my dad would meal prep me meals during the week, and he'd bring them every single weekend. And that, he would do like pasta, and he would like pre-make like little red potatoes and put them in like Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
And then I'd warm them up and like smash them up in the bag and eat them. And so I would have all my meals for the week because, he knew, and it's super expensive to try to eat out for every single meal. And so I can't tell you how much spaghetti I ate over that course of my freshman year.
No.
After freshman year, we can move out of the dorms and you can live off campus.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did. And then you got a kitchen and we could grill out all the time and do all those kinds of things.
Yeah. Speaking of your dad, you helped him lose a significant amount of weight too.
Yeah.
We'll talk about his meal plan and his prep.
Yeah. So, he was just unhappy with what he weighed and kind of how he felt. And so basically I told him, if you just eat meat and fruit and give it, a month, and let's see how you feel. And sure enough, he started to feel better, and lost a ton of weight, and it's amazing that would do that for him because it really changed his quality of food that he was eating too. He was eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of processed sugar with sodas. And so, that really cleaned everything up for him. He lost 30 pounds in a month. But he'll go on these green bean diets where he'll just eat like green beans for like 2 weeks and he'll lose a ton of weight. But he won't feel good. I'm
Sure.
like, what? Like, why? So that's his just old school, like, just, he'll go on a bean and cornbread diet too.
Yeah. And hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah. He'll do eggs. I wish he'd eat more eggs.
Yeah.
Eggs are like a superfood.
Yeah, that's the thing with a lot of people is they'll do these extreme diets, carnivore, keto, vegetarian, vegan, and they're really not sustainable. Like carnivore is great, all these fad diets are great initially because you're cutting out processed foods, and that's where you're going to see your best results within the first few months. And it's like after that, it's like you slow down progression, and you might have some deficiencies in vitamins and minerals and things. That's the big thing is you see all these fad diets, right? And a diet is not really just about losing weight, right? It's just what you eat. And if that's what you eat, it should be a balanced diet. And that's where I go, is more of a balanced diet. You got vegetarian and vegans, like it's very hard to hit your protein intake. If you're on a strict carnivore diet, you can hit your vitamins and stuff, but it's a little more difficult. Keto, you're going to feel sluggish a lot. You know, carbs are energy. You do need carbs. You don't need excessive amount, but you still need them. So I feel like a balanced diet is where most people should fall under, but they don't. You want to talk more about that?
Well, like 3 or 4 years ago, I don't know if you remember, but when I tried to eat nothing but steak and apples
Yeah,
for like 2 weeks. Um, that tore my belly up. Like it tore me up.
yeah,
Um, the protein I could definitely hit, but I was having to eat like a whole bag of apples
yeah.
every day to get my carb goal for from apples.
It's a lot of fiber.
Yeah, I mean it was tearing me up. So that lasted about 2 weeks. I didn't do that anymore. Um, but yeah, I think balance, and it's really all what are your goals?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you want to use a diet plan
Hmm.
to get some weight off of you to kind of kickstart it,
Yeah.
by all means, I think that's great. And then you can start to reintroduce some foods to maintain or keep maintenance on what you've lost. I feel like that kind of makes sense
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, those fad diets are good initially, like we said, and a lot of those people, they might have like an autoimmune disease or something, and like the carnivore diet could work great. You could be, overweight, and the keto could work very great, and um, those things have their purpose initially, but it's just like how sustainable is it long term? A lot of times it's not, and then they find themselves in the same spot because they didn't find a healthy relationship with food. They just were doing this for suffering or being miserable by doing it. And then that's what I'm saying. If you get a balanced diet, it's a little more maintainable. You have a more healthy relationship with food, and you can do it long term.
You just said sustainability and being able to maintain.
Yeah,
And when I hear that, I think about consistency.
yeah,
So really, what nutrition plan or what diet are you going to be able to do consistently? Like
yeah,
that's where you're going to see results,
yeah,
right? Like if you're trying to gain weight, well, anybody can eat 5,000 calories a day or for a week
yeah,
until you get sick of it, and then what? So instead of just like overeating for a week and then undereating for a week, like having those imbalances, just little by little chipping away and being consistent. And I think people make out uh, consistency to be maybe more hard than it actually is, just because of the simple fact of it's all about preparation,
yeah,
right? If you can at least prep, we try to prep our meals from Sunday night to Wednesday.
yeah.
You know,
That's
like
about what we do too.
like a whole week is hard because then like sometimes stuff goes bad and then you feel like you're wasting
Or
stuff
you're eating the same
or
thing.
the same thing like you're sick of it. So we try to do Monday through Wednesday of prep. And we don't do you've probably seen on like social media like pretty meal package
Yeah,
things to grab and go. We don't even do that. All we'll do is we'll make a bunch of meat and then we'll make like a big pot of rice or pasta. And then each night, then we can divvy it out into the containers for lunch the next day or whatever. So there's still a little bit of prep, but
yeah,
it cuts way down on like if I'm hungry, like what am I gonna eat? Because I think that's where a lot of people go wrong is they'll be hungry and nothing's made.
yeah,
So then they go to what's convenient. You know what I mean? Like they'll have chips in the pantry.
yeah,
Well, I'll just snack on these chips. It'll be good. Or they'll have some ham or bologna or whatever in the
yeah,
fridge and be like, I'll just make a sandwich real quick. Like instead, if you're just a little bit more prepared, then you have 5 meals worth in the fridge and you can just chip away at it for 3 days
yeah.
and uh, and then reconvene Wednesday night, re-prep, and then you're good through Saturday again. So when you prep, like, do you go ahead and like divvy all the stuff out, or do you just like, what do you do?
I mean, Raquel's home more, so we don't have to like prep as much. She works part time now versus full time. So we were full time, we 100% like Sunday we meal prep to Wednesday, and then Wednesday we'd cooking up until like Friday to get us through, and then like Saturday and Sunday we can make whatever we want because we're home, or if we did want to go out to eat we could. Um, Now, I mean, it's kind of almost like every week or two, like or every day or two. So like Sunday or Saturday. It's kind of been Saturday now more, but I'll cook enough until like Monday night, and then Monday night cook something until like Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Enough for lunch the next day, and then you kind of do like that. But it's like every 2 or 3 days we're cooking, and then I don't mind eating the same thing. A lot of people don't, but like um, you could cook a bunch of different types of meat. You could cook Sunday some chicken thighs, and then or steak or breast or whatever you want to do, and then you have a meat selection, and then you can have a carb selection and then a veggie selection. You can roast 3, 4 different types of veggies in the oven, olive oil, salt, whatever, and then you can have variations that way. There's several different ways of doing it. It's preference and whatever is easiest for you to do it consistently.
That's right. I think consistency is key with nutrition,
Yeah.
and just being prepared more than anything. If you're gonna go out to eat, and it's
Yeah.
give and take,
Yeah.
right? Like if you know that you're gonna go out to eat for dinner, and I think you do a good job at this. If you know you're gonna go out to dinner, you'll have a smaller lunch
Yeah.
because you know that you're gonna eat a lot at dinner.
Yeah.
So at lunch, you just peel back a little bit, and then you're still on track. You didn't overeat. That one that one meal didn't cause your whole week or whole day to be ruined.
Yeah. I mean, like my cheat thing is I usually like have a bowl of cereal at night before bed, usually like an hour or two. And it's not every day. It used to be every day, but now it's probably like just if my dinner wasn't enough, I'll eat that to try to keep on track. And it's usually a healthier type of cereal, like a Raisin Bran or I don't know, something a little better. Um, but if I eat a bigger dinner, like if I go out to eat, typically I'm not hungry enough for, the cereal, so I don't eat it. But that's probably the worst thing I eat is probably cereal.
So you do that now, and then like when we first met,
Hmm.
you like never consumed any sugar.
Yeah, and that was like I felt terrible doing it, trying to train, and energy levels were low, recovery wasn't as good, and then I was like, okay, I need to increase sugar. Um, you know, I tried to cut my fat down a lot too. That wasn't healthy either. I felt like you know, I wasn't sustainable. So I mean, it's trial and error, right? You got to trial, test it out, but it's also what works for you, what's consistently. There's some guidelines you can use to go through, so you don't have to do too many trials. But I mean, it's kind of going to be, test it, see what works.
Yeah, yeah. The trial and error for me is hard,
Yeah,
just because
yeah,
what if it gives me allergic reaction?
yeah. You can't do that.
Like even my like the the rare condition that I have that's called it's called exercise induced anaphylaxis.
Yeah,
So like example, like I said, my peanut allergy is my most severe.
yeah,
It's airborne,
yeah.
right? So if I'm even around peanuts, I'm gonna go into anaphylaxis.
No Five Guys.
Right? No Five Guys, no Logans. We're not going in that place. So the exercise induced anaphylaxis is for my allergies that are not so severe that I'll go into anaphylaxis with just consuming them. But for whatever reason, if I exercise, I do go into
Yeah,
anaphylaxis, which has happened before with
yeah,
like dairy.
yeah,
So my dairy allergy, it's severe enough that I'll break out in hives, um, and I'll have to take Benadryl, and then sometimes I've had to go to the hospital because the hives won't go away. But if I were to accidentally have something with a little bit of dairy in it
hmm,
and then go exercise, anaphylaxis,
yeah,
EpiPen, hospital.
yeah. I know they're bad. We tried to play basketball one time. I had Five Guys, and they're like, don't even want to be near me. I had
Yeah,
to wash my hands and still didn't feel comfortable. I mean, you've gotten good now where but I'm sure that initial stages was pretty difficult.
well, that's one reason my parents didn't let me wrestle growing up.
Yeah,
I played, football, basketball for a little while, baseball, but never wrestling. And that was my parents' thought of when I was real young. Instead of putting me into wrestling, to do basketball, just because of the fact of, peanut butter's real common. Now they got the Uncrustables, right? So if a kid were to eat an Uncrustable and then we're wrestling and sweating all over each other,
Yeah.
like, could that cause anaphylaxis, right? And the allergists are always like, it could.
Yeah.
So it's probably not worth it,
Yeah.
you know. And I hate going to the allergist. Like I went this past summer because every so often I have to go in to get my EpiPens renewed. I just can't call and they'll refill them. And it, any question I ever have, they never know the answer to, like
So
ever.
it's a vague, could not.
Right. So the proteins that make up milk,
Yeah.
there's three of them. There's casein, whey, and lactose. Those are the three that make up protein, or the protein in milk. Now, I'm allergic to two out of the three.
Yeah.
So I'm allergic to lactose and I'm allergic to whey.
Yeah.
Based on my blood work, my casein, I'm not necessarily allergic to. So I was wondering because they make just a casein protein powder. So last time I went, I had this long list of questions I was going to ask, and that was right at the top of the list. And as you can imagine, I asked, they're like, "Yeah, I don't know. We can just try it and see." Yeah, it's like, I don't really want to try it.
Yeah.
Like the allergic reactions, they hurt.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like I don't know, like they hurt.
Yeah.
I guess so. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'll go when I have to. I haven't gotten blood work done in a while. I probably need to get my blood work done,
Yeah.
uh, just to see, like on the scale of when you look at blood work, it's a number system. So, like, for example, a number one, you're going to be less allergic than a number two.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, it's on a decimal level. So anything really above, I'm trying to remember, I think it's like above a 1.5 or like a 2, that's when anaphylaxis
Yeah.
starts to
Yeah.
happen. And anything less than that is like a 1 to a 1.5, I want to say is like just hives happen. And then uh, under 1 is kind of like hit or miss. So things can pop up on your blood work that say you're allergic, but if it's like a point 0.1,
Yeah.
like you may not have symptoms of allergic reactions. So like I have things like oats. Oats are on there, and white potatoes are on there. Um, but have I ever had an allergic reaction to an oat or a potato? No. So I'm gonna keep eating it, right? Even though it's on there, it's just really low. Now that may not be good for my insides. I don't know.
Yeah.
But uh, so to put that in perspective, right? So all the numbers are really low, like definitely less than 5. My peanut allergy is in the 20s.
Yeah.
So like super allergic, and it has gone down as I've gotten older. It used to be like in the hundreds, so it's gotten better, but still like at that point when it's that high,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's still
Dead
anaphylaxis,
is dead.
right? Yeah, like doesn't matter. Um, so maybe it'll keep going down. The milk allergy is something they thought I would grow out of.
Yeah.
Plenty of people, like kind of around puberty,
Mhm.
will, either grow out of food allergies or whatever. I just never did.
Yeah.
So, oh well. But to get us back on track, like you're, and you've always been real good with like budget. Like you're a money guy with the gym, right? Like you're always dialed in with money. Can you talk about how when we talked about Whole Foods,
Yeah.
that's generally more expensive than the processed foods, right? Like that's why people buy all the junk food, right? It's cheaper. But like I remember when we were in college or like right out of college and balling on a budget, like you did really good with being able to cheaply buy what you need. So like what are some cheap foods that can still get you a good meal?
I mean, I think what we basically already said that we eat. I mean, me and you, we don't like to spend a lot of money to eat, especially at the volume that we eat it at. Um, rice, you can buy a big bag of rice at Costco and that can last you months. Probably last you like a week, but most people months. You can buy, you know, if you're trying to meal prep, like Costco and Sam's wouldn't be a bad option, but Aldi, I mean, just buying like pasta, rice, those things, potatoes, those are not really expensive. And those are like your main carb sources. And and then your vegetables are what they are, and then your meat, like you could do chicken thighs, chicken breasts, you can do, you know, steak, burger, ground beef, whatever you're gonna do. Like those are ways to make meals that are healthy but also very cost effective. And you can vary it however you want to. You can make like a soup, you can make a stew, you can, as long as it's hitting those macros, like it doesn't have to be, but those are like the core ingredients. You could do ground beef with rice with broccoli. I mean, sweet potatoes. I mean, there's a lot of things you can buy that are very cost effective. That's not going to break the budget. And, you know, yes, convenience is nice, but you're going to pay for convenience as well. So, I mean, yes, you're going to have to cook it, but you're going to save money in the long run, and you're going to eat better, and you're probably going to feel better.
Yeah, that's one thing I really don't mind spending money on food.
Yeah,
I mean, our grocery bill is always going to be expensive
yeah,
just because, a lot of the things that I can eat, if we ever want to do, there's just all the alternatives that I can have are always more expensive, which, I mean, I guess they know that because, like, if I want it, I gotta get it.
yeah,
So I'm gonna pay more for it, you know? Like, even just like things like ice cream that I can have or like cookies that I can
yeah,
have, like, they're about double the price.
yeah.
So I guess I've just learned, like, and Katie's good at this, but definitely like we'll find deals when we can. But if we can't find deals, like, I mean, I can't stress about it.
Yeah,
Like, what are you gonna do?
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Um, talk about what are some like staple meals? Obviously, the meat and the rice or the meat and the pasta. But are there anything like outside of the box meals that's like a go-to staple for you or that um, you try to have?
I mean, I like a good taco bowl. I mean, I think that's a way to kind of like mix it up a little bit where it's not as plain, you know, rice, whatever your meat is. It could be chicken thighs, it could be beef, it could be turkey. Um, you got your salsa, a little cheese, sour cream, um, whatever you're gonna put in it, and you have, your taco bowl. It's pretty filling, and it's, probably gonna be 600 calories around or more depending on your portion. But I mean, instead of paying $12 for a bowl at Chipotle, you can meal prep those out. They come up to like $3, $4 a bowl. Um, Not very hard. Get a rice cooker, mass cook rice and cook a big pot of ground beef, whatever. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, we like stews a lot of, Instapot meals, things that you can cook pretty quickly and cook a bunch of. But I mean, we try to mix it up a little bit, but we find ourselves going back to like a taco bowl or spaghetti just because the convenience and the affordability.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is like convenience, right? And that's why those like meal prep companies work.
Yeah,
Like for people that don't have a lot of time, like they're gonna pay a little bit more to have those meals prepped for them.
yeah.
And that's kind of like just what are your goals, you know? Um, so to kind of wrap this thing up, what are some markers that general population should hit with their protein goal and their carb goal, and then we'll just you don't have to talk about fat, like just try to keep fat generally low,
Yeah,
like because if you're eating enough meat, like
a little more.
you're gonna get a little more fat, like through ground beef or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like numbers wise, but percentages because it's going to vary. Like percentages work better because it's going to differ based off how many calories you're going to eat in a day. But if I'm eating 2,000 calories a day, 40-ish percent give or take 5% of that is going to be carbs, and then 20 to 30% of that is going to be protein, and then 20 to 30% is going to be fat. And then for me, I'm usually hitting around 200 grams of protein, around 400 grams of carbs, and then 100 grams of fat, give or take.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be my percentages and macros, but that's going to vary depending on what your goal is, and is it to gain, to lose weight, maintain.
Yeah. So the way we look at it is different, but the numbers end up being
Yeah,
like the same. So I think that I look at it as 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and I think that that's pretty much standard, like
yeah,
for everybody.
yeah,
Like I feel like, yeah, 70, 80%,
yeah,
like that's fine too.
yeah.
But I feel like that is the the lowest you could
Yeah,
you could
and
go.
it's like around 2 grams of carbs per pound of body weight,
Right.
roughly, and then about a half a gram, of fat per pound of body weight.
Yeah. And so really the big thing is for people that are trying to lose weight, like gain weight, like honestly, hit your protein goal, and that's the hardest for the athletes that we work with is getting enough carbs in
Yeah,
because they're training hard. Um, Also, they undereat without realizing it. So
yeah,
if they don't track, like they're not eating as much as they think.
no,
Um, but for anybody, gain weight, lose weight, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
hmm
And then really the only thing that you have to try to manipulate for most people is the carbs. So if you're trying to lose weight, and let's say you start out with 2 grams of carbs per pound of body weight. Well, if you do that for a week and you're consistently tracking, um, and you don't lose weight, well then guess what? Eat less carbs the next week.
yeah,
But I don't think people like to like experiment and like manipulate their food intake like that, um, just because it does take preparation and thought. But that's one good thing about like you said, MyFitnessPal. It does that all that for you.
yeah,
You put in what your weight is now.
yeah,
You put in what your goal weight is. It asks you generally how active are you.
yeah, and all that's the free version. I
Yeah,
don't even know what the paid version has. I mean, I'm sure it has more in-depth stuff, but it tells you your sodium level that you intake. It tells you like all the main micro and macro nutrients that you should hit, for free. And then it tells you if you go over, it tells you go under, and then that gauges like what your last meal of the day could look like if you haven't hit it or you went over, throughout the day.
all right. I'm glad you talked about that. What is 3 supplements that you think, and then I'll say the ones that I think that every person should take?
I think a protein supplement. I think we probably both agree with that, just because of getting protein levels. We talked about protein this whole podcast. It was other nutrition. I would say creatine. I think studies have shown even women need more creatine than men, um, just because of muscle density and storage levels, and helps with a lot of things. It's the most studied supplement ever. So those
It's
two,
safe. Creatine
it's
safe.
yeah, very safe, very effective for immune health, cognitive health, everything. Um, and then the last one, I don't even know. Let me hear your three, and then
Okay.
I'll carry the third one.
So I think protein, and like you said, protein has a little bit of a caveat to it
Yeah,
because if you're getting your protein intake through Whole Foods, well, yeah,
yeah,
there's no need for a protein supplement. It's just, for me personally, it's hard for me to eat 200 plus grams of protein
yeah,
a day. So with time management and everything else, like a protein shake's just the easiest way to do it.
yeah,
So I'm gonna say protein. I'm gonna say creatine, and then I'm gonna also say electrolytes.
yeah, yeah,
Um, because I think obviously there's hypertension and everything like that, but for the most part, I think people are not consuming enough sodium.
yeah,
Like for example, um, Katie, when she was finishing up grad school and then going into the workforce, during the second half of the day, she would just have like some severe brain fog,
Yeah.
like just feel really bad. Um, and so tried, energy drinks or like coffee for the second half of the day, and like that doesn't help. So then it's like, okay, maybe I need to take out the caffeine. So I'm not going to do any caffeine all day. It still, second half of the day, brain fog would
Yeah.
come. Okay, let's just try just coffee, no energy drinks.
Yeah.
Brain fog would still come. But when she started taking creatine and electrolytes daily, the brain fog went away.
Yeah.
Because you need sodium for your neurons to
Yeah.
fire. Like
Sodium, potassium pump going against the membranes. I mean, they say 90% of headaches come from dehydration.
right.
And it's not just I didn't have enough water, it's also electrolytes because, you know, if you don't have enough electrolytes, then the membrane of your brain pushes, and then that's what causes the pressure and, the headache.
Yeah, sodium, potassium, magnesium, those are the big three.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody should be getting those. You can get them through like vitamin pill form. You can get them through powder form.
Yeah.
We drink ours.
Yeah.
Because you can drink all the water all day. Like Katie would carry around a big jug, and she definitely from the naked eye, she was hydrated.
Yeah.
But when you drink that much water and you desaturate your cells of all those electrolytes, because once you drink water and then you pee all your electrolytes out, like you just lost them all.
Yeah.
So it's important to supplement with enough sodium.
Yeah.
And does everybody, we drink Element a lot.
Yeah.
And that's 1,000 milligrams. Does everybody need 1,000 milligrams? Probably not.
No.
But right now I'm training twice a day between marathon prep and then I'll hop in classes at the
Yeah.
gym. Like, yeah, I may have 2 elements a day.
Yeah.
Especially in the summertime.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's wintertime and coaching, and I'm drinking 1 and 2, and I'm not even like sweating a bunch. I just feel like it helps my energy levels stay more consistent, my recovery, my sleep. I don't wake up feel like I have to, drink as much water. Um, I just feel better overall. And then like, a lot of times people crave like sugar. You probably need more salt. A lot of times if you have a craving, sometimes it's not exactly what you're craving.
that's right. Like at nighttime, that's a big telltale for me. If I'm under fueled
Yeah.
at nighttime, I'll have some type of like sugar craving. Um, and so if I look back at what I ate over the course of the day, it's like, sure enough, I didn't have enough. I'm low on carbs or
Yeah.
I'm low on protein. Like your body will start to know, what you need, and it'll tell you what you need.
Yeah.
That's the number one question I feel like we get is when somebody walks in the gym. Let's say they've been consistent for a week or two.
Hmm.
The very next question they ask is, okay, what should I eat? What supplements do I need? You know, um, and so to come to a consensus, right? We would point people into the direction of eat whole foods, eat a protein, a carb, and a veggie with every meal, right? And then supplements are exactly what that sounds like.
Yeah.
It's to supplement your diet.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to get enough creatine. So I think everybody should probably be on creatine, at least past puberty, right? Like the young athletes that haven't hit puberty yet, I don't think so, because your body's going through enough changes with that, like with hormones and everything else. But post puberty and up, I think everybody should be on creatine.
Yeah.
And then supplement with electrolytes, supplement with protein, and then I also take a pre-workout, but that's just for basically caffeine and some energy.
Yeah.
So what else you got? You got anything else?
That's it.
Nothing. That's it.
Covered a lot.
Yeah, covered a lot. So, all right, that was episode 2 of the Vessel Podcast talking about nutrition. We'd love for you to subscribe, like, share this, and as always, be the vessel.